Senator Marsha Blackburn. She'll be joining us at 7:35 on here on WTN. And a guy by the name of John Tigan, otherwise known as Tig, he is going to be joining us at 8:05, and he's got some amazing stories to tell about Benghazi. And he, of course, is part of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Foundation Patriot Awards dinner that is coming up this Thursday. I'm going to be there. Matt Murphy is going to be there as well. Cannot wait. I'm going to tell you all about it here in the next few minutes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So this is the story that Joan and I were alluding to, the story of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and FHFA Director Bill Pulte. And apparently they came this close to getting into a brawl. So word is they had dinner last Wednesday, and it was called a cocktail hour dust-up at this executive branch club. And so this executive branch club, one of these highfalutin places where important men and women can, talk about important things, and the media is not there. Well, Politico is now reporting, and this is, I guess, 5 different sources are saying that Bessent was told by another cabinet member that Pulte was trash-talking him to President Trump. And so Bessent went up and told him, why the blank are you talking to the president about me? Blank you. Bessent reportedly told Pulte, I'm going to punch you in your blanking face. Can you just, I don't know, Joan, can you hear Bessent saying that?
I really can't.
Yeah, I'm going to punch you in your blanking face.
Yeah, no, it doesn't track with what the person that we see on TV.
Pulte appeared stunned, and the tense encounter prompted club co-owner and financier Omid Malik to intervene, according to 3 people, but Bessent wasn't having it. He sought to get Pulte kicked out. The eyewitness said, it's him or me. You tell me who's getting the blank out of here, apparently Bessent said. Peacemaking efforts by the club co-owner resulted in Bessent proposing to Pulte that they go outside. To do what? To talk? Pulte reportedly asked. No, I'm going to blanking beat your blank. Bessent replied per Politico. So Pulte is obviously, no fight actually happened because Pulte apparently wasn't willing to go outside with clearly an angered Scott Bessent. But Bessent did threaten to beat his blank. Malik eventually separated the men and seated them at opposite ends of the table during the dinner. According to Politico, all parties declined to comment to the outlet, according to the Huffington Post. That's kind of funny, actually. You think it actually happened? That's too random to be made up.
Now, listen, did you not have enough of this during the last administration? I feel like all of these stories, they start bubbling up when they want to discredit the administration, when they want to take attention away from successes. Mm-hmm. And Axios, you said it was Axios, right?
It's all over the place.
Or Politico,
it was Politico. It was Politico.
Were they unnamed sources?
Yes.
Okay, well, that tells you everything you need to know. I just don't believe it. I personally don't believe any of it.
I'll take it over Secretary of Nuclear Waste stealing women's luggage at airports.
Well, that was true.
Yeah. But if we're going to have stories about the underlings in the administration, that sounds like, depending on the credibility of it, it still sounds like something normal.
See, I think this happens more often than not in administrations. You have a bunch of type A personalities in a very tense, high-pressure situation, and Pulte and Bessent, they disagree apparently on a number of things. So they're working on, a lot of economic stuff, housing things, and apparently they do disagree on some stuff. And so with Pulte, supposedly, and I wouldn't put it past anybody to go to the president and trash talk other cabinet members to them. That kind of stuff happens all the time. It happens in workplaces all the time. You ever been in charge of people? You two haven't. I have. I've been managing people for 30 years. You always get people coming and trashing other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you have to manage as a manager. And I don't know.
I've been in the middle of 2 Waffle House servers ready to scratch each other's eyes out over tips. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know what? You want to do this as a poll, a Daily Dan poll? Do you believe that Scott Bessent actually threatened to beat up, Bill Pulte? But here's the thing: I don't necessarily know if this is a bad or negative story, Joan, because I think that this is typically what happens behind the scenes. By the way, have you ever heard of Shermichael Singleton?
No.
Okay, Shermichael Singleton is a commentator on CNN. This is what he says about the whole thing. Listen.
What do you make of it?
I mean, look, I like Bessent a whole lot more because if you're working with a colleague and the colleague's going to the boss and bad-mouthing you and talking crap about you, then you need to go and check that guy and say, what in the F are you doing? Like, we're both trying to do our jobs and execute very well to bring to fruition the president's agenda and the American people who voted for him, and yet you're trying to jockey for power by talking trash about me. So like I think most guys would go to another guy and say, cut this BS out or we're going to have a problem. And Bessent handled it like a man, and I personally respect him for it.
There you go. So
listen, again, have you not had enough of the stories that are, there's chaos within the Republican Party? It's just another one of those, just another means of creating a story around the Republican Party and
chaos.
President Trump's team, that there's chaos. They do it all the time. They do it all the time.
All right. So did we put it up on the poll?
we did.
How did we word it? Go take the poll, friends.
Do you believe Scott Bessent actually threatened Bill Pulte?
All right.
And trending towards no right now.
People are saying no, it didn't happen? Okay.
62% so far.
All right, go take the poll. I think it did happen. Sam, do you think it happened, yes or no?
I tend to think it would. I think about my own, faculties of how I would handle something in that aspect. And like you said, high pressure job. I took an understanding of how stressful working for the federal government was in that capacity, watching Obama age 15 years for 2 terms. And so I imagine the pressure combined with you want Trump's approval, you want Trump's endorsement, it's going to drive you.
And I've read about Trump's managing style and where he likes that give and take. He likes that conversation. Now, obviously, he doesn't like people threatening to beat each other up. I think the funny part here is just that it's mild-mannered Scott Bessent. Like, I think that's the funny part.
The Yale graduate.
Well, he's gay, and so that kind of plays into it as well. I think it's just funny. Like, I guess I find it more funny than, Joan finds it a little more outrageous. I just find it funny that he's threatening Bill Pulte, and Pulte wouldn't go outside. That's the other thing. Pulte wouldn't go outside. They've been working on various projects together that might be part of what's going on here is a bit of a turf war. Because if you think about the Trump administration, any job, you take politics out of it, but any job, you've always got people sort of angling for a position, right? They're always doing that. From Politico, Wednesday's dust-up also wasn't the first time Bessent has gotten into an altercation with a fellow Trump official. In April, he confronted Elon Musk just outside the Oval Office, accusing the tech mogul, then running Doge, in a profanity-laden tirade of going behind his back to secure his chosen candidate, Gary Shapley, as acting IRS commissioner. Bessent was pushing for another guy, Deputy Treasury Secretary Michael Falkender, to get the job, and eventually Falkender got the job and then left the job 5 months later. So, I don't know. I think you got a lot of guys with big egos, type A personalities, big bank accounts. Again, everybody is jockeying for power. And so Bessent, I think that he's got some bite in him. And if this is true, that Pulte was going behind his back, well, again, that is office politics. Where's the poll now on YouTube?
59, 58, 59, bouncing back and forth.
Okay.
On no.
All right, so far I'm losing, and that's fine. It wouldn't be the first time that I've lost out on a poll to Joan. So we'll have to monitor that throughout the day. As we've been talking about, President Trump has begun the ICE raids in Chicago. It is called Operation Midway Blitz, a surge of law enforcement that will hopefully bag some bad guys and help reform Chicago back into the city it once was. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to do that, especially with it being run by Democrats. But this is how Fox News reported it. This all started yesterday afternoon as Operation Midway, which is a Midway Blitz, began.
Operation Midway Blitz, that they say is in honor of a beautiful young Chicago woman, Katie Abraham, who was killed by an illegal alien drunk driver back in January of this year. And while we are getting reaction from Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, who says that this blitz won't make Chicagoans safer, let me show you this video. Early this morning, I was out with one of ICE's teams, and we arrested this individual. His name is Juan Gaspar, and he is a 43-year-old illegal alien from Mexico. He has been convicted in 2024 of forcibly sexually assaulting a child under the age of 13.
Isn't that weird? So Dick Durbin says that these ICE raids won't make Chicagoans safer, yet they arrested this guy who is known for trying to hook up with young girls. So, yeah, I think just by getting these dudes off the street and hopefully into, Alligator, Alcatraz, or wherever, does clearly make Chicago safer.
It's taken, as you can see here, without incident, but this is all part of the exact sort of violent criminal illegal alien that the ICE operations hope to bring in, apprehend, and ultimately operation.
Yeah, and ultimately deport. And I think that's a great thing. So Monday we reported that Boston, I think they're calling it, I forget what they're, something about Operation Patriot 2.0, something like that in Boston. Governor J.B. Pritzker, of course, refusing to cooperate with the Trump administration's crime crackdown, but he understands that this is going to happen, and obviously it is. This ICE operation, this quote, this ICE operation will target the criminal illegal aliens who flocked to Chicago and Illinois because they knew Governor Pritzker and his sanctuary policies would protect them and allow them to roam free on America's streets. You heard that Fox News report. The 20-year-old woman killed by an illegal alien, her name was Katie Abraham, 20 years old, and she was killed in a hit and run as an illegal alien was behind the wheel of a car. The announcement of Operation Midway Blitz included an interview with that woman's father. The father said his daughter's killer should not have been admitted into the United States in the first place. He says, and this is a quote, "To me, these are not the productive folks we want to bring into the country," Joe Abraham said. "You want to build the country on migrants, probably not the guy you want to stand behind." They pushed back against claims that the Trump administration is not giving illegal immigrants due process, saying their daughter did not get that right.
She's not the only one. Did you see the other day in Maryland, Takara Thompson, 19 years old, and they have arrested Hugo Hernandez Menendez.
19-year-old guy murdered her and threw her body off of a bridge. That's what he did. The guy in Maryland, another Maryland man for the media to hide.
And to another point, to the haters, another black life lost for senseless violence from someone that shouldn't have been here.
19 years old is how old she was. 19 years old. By the way, this is Katie's dad. He was interviewed by local media.
I have a life sentence now without my daughter.
In June, when a congressional oversight committee called upon Governor Pritzker and two other sanctuary city governors to testify, Katie's story was put forth.
We were at the oversight committee hearing, and he couldn't muster up a word or even sort of acknowledge us.
It was that lack of compassion, says Abraham, along with what he believes is an unsustainable approach towards immigration in Illinois, that led him to agree to have Katie's name used during today's announcement of Operation Midway Blitz.
If their purpose is to remove illegal criminal aliens from the streets, I guess I'm all for that.
Well, there you go. And that is exactly what Donald Trump is doing. And that is why the daughter is being, in my opinion, I don't know what the right word would be, but they're using her name as, or utilizing, memorializing her. You heard the news yesterday, no doubt, that ICE has now made it into Chicago. The big question is going to be, will there be a huge rebellion against ICE? Because if so, well, then that could be used to justify President Trump sending in the National Guard. So that is also part of the story. The operation is called Operation Midway Blitz. And so you know what they're doing in Chicago? They've got all these people out there, and they've got whistles. No, sir, they got
whistles.
They've
my
got whistles.
gosh!
So when they see ICE, because ICE now has their new trucks, right? So the new trucks that has ICE emblazoned on, I'm assuming both sides of the trucks, I think that will draw more attention to ICE than the whistles. But this was on Fox.
Because this is our #1 defense system against ICE. This is our community alert system. When ICE is in the area, we're going to be going, preep, 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 preep. And then when ICE actually stops and starts taking people, we're going to go to the whistle, form a crowd, get loud.
To make noise every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, wherever they are, get a little group together, go out, have a sign, blow the whistle, and keep the whistle with you at all times.
If you see ICE thugs doing something, invading a school, a parking lot, a Home Depot, wherever, right, you need to get out your whistle and blow as hard as you can. What they're doing is illegal. It's Gestapo-like.
Lord.
And we have to stop it. We have to commit ourselves to stop it.
Wouldn't it be nice if they actually had that much enthusiasm to stop criminals in Chicago?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I wonder how much that lady in particular is being paid.
Oh, that lady? I don't know.
And which bus she catches home
Right.
to
her actual home state.
Yeah,
Right.
they're but yeah, they're running around. They've got their little whistles, and I've not heard of any actual violence as of yet there in Chicago. But you know what? Listen, Trump, it said that he was going to do this. He is now doing it. And honestly, it is about time. And yeah, the liberals are losing their minds. Others, though, are celebrating it. You do have the morons with the whistles. They're also, again, they're in Boston. They're in Washington, D.C. They've been talking about Chicago. They are now in Chicago. And I guess Trump is going into ICE is going back into L.A. now because the Supreme Court said that they could go into L.A. And so now ICE is ramping their operations back up in L.A. as well. What's so funny, though, is that when they say that this is not making Chicago safer, I mean, that lacks any rational thought, because if you take criminals off the street, then that is the personification of making neighborhoods safer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the stupid thing. So they will sit there and the left will tell you if you take guns off the street, then that'll make the city streets safer, but they're okay with actual criminals and child molesters and armed robbers and the like staying on the street. It makes it's like, bass backwards with the liberals and how they think.
Which leads me to some audio that the whistle reminded me of.
Okay.
And it elates me to think that ICE is going in and doing their job and making our country safer. And it just, that's where my mind goes with the whistling.
What are you doing? Joan, have you heard this train wreck that Sam has welcomed into the program? Anyway, you heard what happened down in Georgia. It was talked about yesterday, where they went into a plant and arrested a whole bunch of people there in Georgia.
Yeah, this one was in Georgia. It was actually at a Hyundai factory, and about 500 individuals were arrested, and they were actually accused of crossing illegally or overstaying their visas. So we know that South Korea, about 300 of those individuals, those were workers there, they're going to be flown back to South Korea. And President Trump says that the raids will not impact relations with the U.S. ally. Hyundai said none of those detained were directly employed by the company, and it has zero tolerance for those who don't follow the law.
Do you know what I think? You heard that what Hyundai has zero tolerance for this kind of thing, and they will follow the law. So obviously what Hyundai does, and I don't know exactly how this works, but I have an idea. So I think what probably happens is Hyundai contracts out these workers, and that's how they've got like plausible deniability. Like, yeah, we don't know, man. We contracted out. We have no idea.
Amazon does the same thing with the drivers.
Do they really?
So even if you see an Amazon van with the lettering and everything on it, someone gets out with a blue vest or polo on, they don't work directly for Amazon. They work for a third-party contractor.
And do these third-party contractors, do they have to vet the people? Because you got 300 South Koreans that, I mean, they're not here legally.
Yep. So the third-party contractor has to vet them, has to insure them, has to get all that paperwork done. And Amazon saves a buttload of money, removes a ton of liability. Yeah. And there's something to be said with Hyundai doing that. Like, why is that legally allowable in certain instances where you can contract something out and then, I didn't know that was happening.
It's a wink and a nod. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, my assumption is that Hyundai knows that they go to their plant and you got a whole bunch of people there, speaking whatever, South Korean or whatever. And the first thing you would ask is, how many of these people are here on legal work visas, et cetera? I mean, I think that is a fair and legit question. And so for Hyundai to say, we had no idea, we have a zero tolerance policy with all of this. Well, here's what I would say to Hyundai. If you had a zero tolerance policy, then you would do spot checks on your floor, right? You'd walk around and you'd say, these folks that, you'd say to your contractor, third-party contractor, you would say, we need everybody to carry whatever, work visa they have so that we could just check up on your contractor. If you have a zero tolerance policy, then that is what you need to do. Hyundai obviously was not doing that.
Others arrested were from Guatemala, Colombia, Chile, Mexico, Ecuador, and Venezuela, according to an immigration advocate.
So there you go. That was from News Nation. Do you know what? I just keep thinking about how all of this is playing on the national stage with all of these surges that are happening all across the country. By the way, at 7:35, I do have Senator Marsha Blackburn. She is going to be joining me. I'm going to ask her about, just so you know where we're going, going to ask her about the latest on Epstein. We've already spoken about that and the pictures from the birthday book. Those have now come out. A lot of people are saying, including the White House, are saying that the Donald Trump supposed drawing that came from Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book is not actually legit, and it is a fake drawing of Donald Trump. Whole thing, for the most part, actually everything is basically typed out, and you've got Donald Trump's signature, and you've got people who are looking at both signatures and saying, that's not actually Donald Trump's signature. So we did talk about that earlier in the program. We do have the surge that is going on. One of the things that I'm looking forward to talking to Marsha Blackburn about, Senator Marsha Blackburn about, is the fact that it turns out now that apparently Meta, they hid some of their own research that showed that some of their VR technology is harmful to kids. And so now you've got, I think, half a dozen whistleblowers that have come out and they have testified. And Senator Blackburn has a big committee hearing this morning. But these whistleblowers have come out and said, Meta, who owns Facebook and Instagram and so forth, they know that their virtual reality games and so forth, they know that this harms kids. But they spiked that research. They hid that research. And so now you, again, have some whistleblowers that have come out and said, Nope. Meta knows that their products are harming kids, and that is why Senator Blackburn is on this. She's been on trying to protect kids from this online content for certainly years, and so we'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Midway Blitz, Chicago's Midway Blitz. We just talked about that, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how many of these illegals they are able to pick up. I do want to transition now very quickly, and I'm going to do a broader conversation in the 7 o'clock hour. But I think this audio from Sean Duffy really personifies what I talk about, over the last couple of days, certainly over what I would call the death cult that is the Democrat Party. We spoke about what happened in Charlotte, where the woman, the refugee from Ukraine, we told you this story, big, long, horrifying story yesterday about how she was on the light rail. Guy gets up behind her, stabs her in the neck, murders her, cold blood. She had no idea that it was coming, and it was awful. And so there's a big update to the story. And I actually had Sam confirm this part of the story. As this guy was walking out, his name is DeCarlos Brown, was it?
DeCarlos Brown Jr.
DeCarlos Brown Jr., who, by the way, and I told you a lot of this stuff yesterday, but one of the things I'm going to ask Senator Blackburn, she is trying to stop a cashless bail. This guy was out, wait for it, on cashless bail. So we told you about that yesterday.
No way.
As he was walking out of the train, it is reported that he said, and the audio is there, that he said something to the effect of, Sam,
I got that white girl.
I got that white girl. That is what DeCarlos Brown, and there's a lot of folks here in America that are not actually reporting that part of the story, but you got that from the Indian Times, I believe. Mm-hmm. I know the Daily Mail has it as well. Interesting, we're talking about this off the air, Sam, where you have the media, like, for example, the Daily Mail is out of the UK, the Indian Times. You have foreign media, foreign press, who are much better than our own media here in America at reporting American news.
And sometimes they even went to school here.
Yeah, and even went, exactly. So that is part of the story. Obviously, this was, according to that, a racial situation. And this is a story that, I don't know, has the New York Times, I don't know, Joan, if you've seen it or not, has the New York Times and the Washington Post and the networks, have they even started reporting on this story yet?
They have.
They have, good.
Yes.
It
took them weeks.
They were bullied into it.
Yes, they were.
Clearly.
But I noticed that in most of the coverage, the headline isn't that this man killed this woman. It's that conservatives are calling this out, and conservatives are making a big deal about this story.
Because it is. And if the Democrats and the media, that's kind of what I said yesterday, Joan, where the media, instead of reporting the horrific crime, they're reporting it with the angle of conservatives are politicizing the death of this Ukrainian refugee. It is horrifying. I've actually got some audio, which is I gotta play this real quick. This is Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary. This is what he said.
The president said these are evil people, and he's right, but it's also evil politicians, like the mayor, the city council, the DA, the governor in North Carolina. Evil people with evil policies that are actually destroying communities. So the problem, Sean, is a lot of people, like the rich liberal, they can't ride Uber, they don't have a driver, they don't have a vehicle, they actually have to ride public transportation. And public transportation has become an epidemic of violence and homelessness across the country. And so we don't have a ton of equities at DOT, but we do have money. Your federal tax dollars go to fund a lot of these transit systems across the country. Yep. And we have to look at them and say, well, maybe it's appropriate that we start pulling some of that money back, because I don't think the American taxpayer wants to pay for the homelessness and criminal element that harm little 23-year-old girls like this who are going home from work from ordering a pizza, that they're going to get stabbed in the neck. And liberals want to hide that story so you and I don't talk about it, so the American people don't know that their failed policies don't work for the American people.
There you go, Sean Duffy. And listen, clearly Sean Duffy is right. And by the way, The transit systems are gun-free zones. So this, if somebody comes at you like this guy did to Carlos Brown Jr. with a rap sheet a mile long, and he comes at you with a knife, and you are defenseless.
Which it was also alleged he hopped the rail to get on the hop the fence.
That's right.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Didn't pay for his ticket.
He hopped on for free as well.